have started recording. So, hello and welcome everyone to problem solving session for NPTEL course, problem solving through programming in C, and this is week 2. And I am Nikita Yadav and I am a PhD student in ISC Bangalore. And in this session, we look at a number of problems and we try to solve them. So as usual, I will go to a problem, then I'll let you look at the problem and try to solve it, and after that I will ask you to suggest solutions. You can write your solution in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and answer. And you can, if you have any doubts at any time, then you can ask me those doubts. Okay, so the problem 1 is so can anyone confirm, before I start, can anyone confirm that I am audible? Okay, am I not? So 1 second.
Yes, audible.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Praveen, do you have a question? I see a hand raised. Praveen, do you have a question? Okay, then I think you can unraise the hand. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, now I'm back. So let us look at the first problem. So the problem is that you have to choose. It is a multiple choice question, and the question is that you have to define, like, what is a function. So there are 4 options. First option is that it is a function is a block of statements to perform some specific task. Second, it is a fundamental modular unit to perform some task. And third, it has a name and can be used multiple times. And the last option is all of the above. Okay, so you can write your answers in the chat box, and then I will ask you to give an explanation for the answers. So far I have got answer as C option, A option, A option, A. Okay. Okay, one of you said D. There are many A's. Okay. Then one more D. Okay. I think keep the question in activity so that we can choose easily. What does that mean? So can you unmute yourself and tell me that what does that mean?
Ma'am, we have an activity to give our answers.
So is it a feature of Google Meet?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm not aware of it, I think. Let me see. Okay, unfortunately I cannot find it right now. I'll see. next time. And yeah, so let us go over the options. And many of you has said that A option is correct. So A is like a function is a block of statements and to perform some specific task. So which is can any one of you unmute yourself and tell me like what is a function and how do you declare a function and how do you define a function in C? What is a function? Like what does it mean to you that what is a function? And why do we define functions? Why do we create functions in C?
To perform some specific task.
Okay. Like what task? Can you give an example? What can be the simplest? It can be anything. It doesn't have to be very complex.
We can reuse the content.
Come again, please.
We can do the content.
Okay. Sorry, I couldn't understand. But
Addition of two numbers.
okay. Yeah, that's correct. It can be addition of two numbers.
Ma'am, it's a top of code. It can be run when it can be called. Ma'am. It only runs when the function is called.
Yes, that is true. Yeah, that is correct. So
When it's a function written once, we can reuse it.
yes, that's correct. So that means option C is also correct, right? As you all are pointing out. So when you declare a function, you give it a name. Otherwise, how can you say that run this function, right? How can you call a function if it doesn't have a name? So it has a name, and as you all pointed out, that we can call it multiple times. We can run it again and again to do a job. So for example, if we have a function with which can do addition operation, then do we not need to do add again and again in our code? We might need to do add operation again and again in our program. So we will need to call the function multiple times. And okay, I think and then the second option is that it is a fundamental modular unit to perform some task. What does that mean? So what does modular mean? So of course, for so far we have established that option A is correct because function is a block of statements and it does some specific task, example addition of two numbers. And C is also correct because every function has a name and it can be called multiple times. Then the option B is that it is a fundamental modular unit to perform some task. So here the keyword is modular unit. What does that mean? The modular word means would anyone like to say
You
something?
can divide that function. You can break the function into
Sorry, but your voice is not clear to me. Okay, so modular so you can write that addition. You don't need to create a function, right? Like here you can, if you want to do addition of two numbers in your program, let's say your program is int main and you are going to here you are going to first have two variables, let's say two integer variables a and b. Then you are going to scan. You are going to call the function scanf to read the values of these two variables a and b. And after the reading the variables, you can just do that int. I think it will not be allowed in C, so you will have one more variable, say sum. I call it sum. and then you will do that sum is equal to a plus b, and after that you may have a print statement to print the result. Sum. Now what we are saying is that we will not write the code like this. Instead what we are going to do is what I'm going to show on the right hand side now, that we will create one more function here, which is int add, and this function, I hope it is visible. It's not visible. I think I'll write slightly on the right hand side here. Int add, it is going to take two parameters, two arguments, which are integers. I'm calling them a and b. No, does not necessarily have to be a and b, same as the main. Okay, and we are going to add the numbers and return the sum, a plus b. And now in main we will do the same that we did. We are going to read the value of the variables from command line, and after that we are going to, but instead now what we will do here is we will call this function add a comma b, sum is equal to add a comma b. I should actually indent it correctly, so it will be add a comma b, and then we will do the print. And of course there are those same statements here, but I'm not writing here. Okay, then there will be print statement here and return 0. So now here what has happened here? Here we have divided our program, which was earlier a sequential program like this. Everything was in the same function. Now we have divided that functionality into two different parts. Now if there was another function, let's say some other function, say I'll just call it, let's say foo, and if foo also wanted to add some numbers, let's say if there is one more function in this program foo, and there are two more integer, if there are some numbers in this function c and d, and here again if we want to do an add of these numbers, then we will not have to write that sum is equal to add a plus d. Instead we can again here just write add a comma b. We can call this function again. Okay, so here I'm giving you example of add, which is very small function, so you may not realize here that what is it doing. So imagine that the add function was actually not just this, imagine that the function is not, which add here is not just very one line code. Imagine that if it were 100 line code, then if you do not create a new function, then you will have to write that 100 line of code again and again whenever you want to do that specific task. Okay, so imagine that this was 100 lines of code, 100 LOC. Then if you did not create a function, because function allows you to call it again and do the same specific task, same task again and again, but if you did not create a function, then you will have to write those 100 lines of code again and again whenever you want to do that specific task. So it divides your program into these like modular format, so that it becomes more easier to understand and more easier to write also. Okay, so you're asking in the function foo, c and d variable is defined, then how function of a and b variable do that task? Sorry, the question is not clear to me. What I am trying to say here is that okay, I'll explain it again. Okay, I will try to write again and sorry, but my writing is really bad. I'll write again. Okay, so what I am saying is that I'll just quickly see if there is any other question. No. Okay, so imagine not just an addition operation. Let's say we want to have some more complex task, but I think the code will, let's just leave it. Let's just say that, where is int? Okay, so I am going to here, let's say that we have a function and not even int, let's call it some void. Its return type is void, that is it does not return anything, does not return any value, and let's say it is taking as input some parameters, maybe int a, int b or something. Now here I'm not going to tell you that what the function is doing. What I'm only what I'm saying is that this function has some 100 lines of code. I'm not telling you what the function is doing. Just assume that there is a function with some 100 line of code. Now if your program has another function, say, and let's call it function 2, which is different from function 1, and let's say it wants to, it also calls, after doing something it calls function 1 and give it some arguments, like 2, 3, and similarly you can have one call to function from main also, right? Main can also call this function with some argument, say 5, 6. It can again call the function with some argument, say 10, 3. I mean, what I'm trying to say here is that the function which is here, this function can be called multiple times from different places in the program. Now if we had not created this function, then what we'll have to do is that every time we will have to write here 100 lines of code, and that means our code size will become huge, right? Because every time we are writing, like say, so it will increase, and if the code size is too large, then it becomes difficult to manage, difficult to understand, difficult to read. So by breaking our program into several functions, we make it more readable. And as you have already pointed out, we can call the function again to do the same task from different locations, and it is modular. So that's what I was saying. So we have made function of addition by using int a and b, but in other program C and D variable has to be added. Okay, I understand the question. So what you are trying to say here? Yeah, so that can be a confusion, like so here what you're saying is that this add function which I had earlier created, it was declared like this. And when I called it from say foo, you are saying that I here had C and D integers, and I called add with C comma D. Say S is sum. So your question is that how can I pass here C, D? Like how can I use C and D variables to compute the sum using add function, because add is expecting A and B. Yeah, okay. So that's your question. So whenever a function is called, so these are called the so this is these are called, I think, the formal arguments, and this is the actual argument. I mean, these are the arguments to the function. So when you are, so do not so it can be a confusion, but when you are passing here C comma D, that is the values which are stored in the variable C. Let's say if C value was 5, here if declaration was like int C is equal to 5, D is equal to 10, then the value which is in C will be copied in A here. So when you call this, then so when you call add function here, then when you are passing C and D, so they are actually going to get copied here. So A will, it is like A is equal to C, so A will become 5, and here B is equal to, it is like B equal to T, so B will become 10. So you copy the value of the variable which is being so here it is copy of the value of the variable which you are passing from the function call. They are getting copied in the function argument in here in the function body. So you can call the function with any variable name, but here remember that the value of that variable is getting copied in the argument here. So if C was 5, then A will become 5, and if D was 10, B will become 10. So you do not have to call it with the same argument name. No, you don't need to assign A equal to C and D equal to B. That is done already for you by the compiler. Okay. So yeah, that was, so I hope that you now are so now it is clear that all of the 3 statements are correct and not just A and C. So all of the 3 statements are correct, and I hope that is clear. If anyone has any doubt, then please let me know in the chat. Okay, if there is no question, then I will move to the next question. And the next question is that if an integer needs 2 bytes of storage, then the minimum value of a signed integer in C would be. So I have a question in the chat box from and the question is that what will happen if the variable names are same in the main function as that of addition function? So it will be the same. The value of those variables will get copied to the function's argument. Exactly what I told you, it will happen exactly like here in that example. I told you the value of C and D are getting copied. Again, the value of A and B are going to get copied because the variable A is local to a function. Okay, I will go back to the slide and I will tell that when I say here that this variable C, you cannot use this variable C outside this function. it is local to this function. Its scope is only this function. So even if main here had a variable, had variables int a and b, you cannot use these variables outside. You cannot access these variables outside main. Like you cannot say in foo that add a comma b, because a comma b is not declared in foo, it is declared in main. And now you may say that add also declares a. That is possible because the scope of a variable is only limited to the function in which it is declared or defined. So now again here, if we call the add function with a and b, the value of these variables are going to get copied here, similar to earlier. The values are going to get going to use different. Yeah, so the values are again going to get copied here, similar to what happened in foo when add was called with c comma d. Now let us go to the second problem. So does anyone have any answers for this? If an integer needs 2 bytes of storage, then the minimum value of a signed integer in C would be. So first I will ask, so what is a byte? Okay, there are answers. So what is a byte? Yeah, 1 byte is 8 bits and it is a unit of storage in memory. And 1 bit stores only, so 1 bit of information means 0 or 1. It's only 1 bit. And when we combine 8 bits, we get 1 byte of storage. Okay, then what is a signed integer? So signed integer means that the integer value can be both negative as well as positive, like minus 1, it can be 0 and it can be positive integer values as well. Not only positive, signed means it can be negative as well. If we when we say unsigned integer, that means only positive values, and signed means both negative and positive. Okay, so coming to the problem 2 here. So the question is saying that if you want to represent, so if there are 2 bytes, if integer is stored in 2 bytes, then what is the minimum value of integer that can be represented in 2 bytes? So 1 byte is equal to 8 bits. And how many numbers can you represent with 8 bits? So like if you have only 1 bit, then you can only represent 0 and 1. Like maybe you will say if it is 0 then the value is 0, if it is 1 then the value is 1. Okay, if you have 2 bits, then the bits can be 0 1 0 0 0 1 1 0 1 1. So it is 0, it is 1, it is 2 and it is 3, where the bits actually you are going to sum the bit values and they are so I'll just use it. So if there are 8 bits, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So I am using index 0 to 7 to represent the 8 bits, and if the 8 bits were like 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So can anyone tell in that what this is the binary representation for a decimal number? So what is that decimal number? How will we convert this binary, which is the string of bits, to a decimal value? Zero also. So 5. Yeah. So it is 5. And how do we do that? We are going to the first bit we are going to take that and we are going to multiply it by 2 to power 0. Then we are going to take the second bit, multiply it by 2 to power 1 and add it with the previous one. And we keep adding and multiplying the bit by 2 to the power k, where k is the index of the bit. So it will be 2 and others are 0 actually. So this is here 2 to power 2, which is 4, plus 0 plus 1, which is 5. So this is the binary representation for decimal value 5. Now the question is that how many numbers can we represent with 8 bits? So here we have 8 bits. Okay, there are 8 bits and every bit can have there are two possibilities for every bit. That is in every bit we can either store 0 or 1, right? I hope that makes sense. If not, just let me know. So in every bit we can store 0 or 1. So if we store 0 in all the bits, that is value 0. Okay, if we store 1 in the first 0th bit and all zeros, then that is value 1. And if we can do the same, and if we store all of the values as 1, that is value 120. I think 2 to power 8 is 512. So plus 664, 128. So it will be 511. So 2 to power 8 I think is 512. So all ones will be 511. So here by using 8 bits, okay, we have represented 2 to power 8 numbers, which is from 0 to 511. Okay, so now let us look at the question again with this much information what I just told you. If an integer needs 2 bytes of storage, which 1 byte is 8 bit, 2 bytes is 16 bits, okay, then the minimum value of a signed integer in C would be. Two to power 8 is 256. Okay, yeah, you're right. So 2 to power 8 is 256. So this will be 255. Thanks for correcting me. And it will be 255. 0 to 255. Okay. So I think someone said something. Answer is C. Okay. So C option is what? It is 2 to the power 15 minus 1. Okay. So now let me tell you about how do we represent signed numbers. So to represent a signed number, so if we have 8 bits, okay, so there are only 2 types of numbers, right? Either positive numbers or negative numbers. So So we need only one bit to specify whether this number is a positive number or a negative number. So we are going to reserve one bit, which is the most significant bit, to tell whether the number is a positive number or a negative number, and we will call it the sign bit, let's say. And if the bit value is 0, that means the number is positive, and if it is 1, then it means that the number is negative. Okay, now we are left with only 7 bits. Okay, so now we can represent how many numbers? So we can represent 2 to power 7 negative numbers. One will be 0, and then 2 to power 7 positive numbers. The number of how many numbers we represent, that is not changed, but now the range of the numbers is not from 0 to 255. So we will still be able to represent 2 to power 8 numbers here, but the range of the numbers is actually from minus 127 to 127. It is minus 127 when all are 1, because the first bit is saying that the number is negative and all 7 bits are 1. That means that is 127 value, 127 decimal value. And how do we represent 127? The first bit is 0, all other bits are 1. 7 bits. I think I wrote 7 bits, yeah. So this is plus 127, this is minus 127. So the smallest value here is then what? It is minus 2 to power 7. So I solved the problem, but I solved the problem considering that if we only have one byte, then the smallest negative number, smallest signed number is minus 2 to power 7, because we are reserving one bit to specify whether the number is positive number or a negative number. Now I would like to, how do you took 127? So 127, because if all of these bits are 0, which is some other. So here, look at this. See, if all of this, look at this. All of the bits are 1 here. So that means taking from this side, from the right side to the left side, we'll do 2 to power 0 plus 2 to power 1 plus 2 to power 2 plus 2 to power 3, 2 to power 4 plus 2 to power 5 plus 2 to power 6. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are the bit values, bit indexes. And we are going to, as I told earlier, we are going to take the bit value, multiply it by 2 to power k, where k is the index of the bit. So we are, all are ones, so we are going to add all of these values, all of these powers of 2. 2 to power 0 plus 2 to power 1 plus 2 to power 2 and so on till 2 to power 6. And if you will do the computation, use a calculator or do it manually, you will find that this is actually 127. Okay, that's why 127. So I hope that is clear now. So now I would like you all to try this again. If you understood that, then can you try this? And if you did not understand, then I can try to explain again. Do you want me to explain that again? Okay. Okay, I'll explain it again. So I'm saying, let us forget about the question. And if we have, so first 1 byte is equal to 8 bits. Okay. And 1 bit means we will store 0 or 1. That is 1 bit of information. It is 0 or 1. Okay. It's a binary. So here we are talking about the binary representation of numbers. Okay. So if you have number 5 in decimal, where I'm using this base 10 to represent that the number is in decimal, then in binary this is written as this in binary. And how do you convert binary to decimal? For that you will have to you will keep doing multiply and then keep adding, and you will just keep doing that, and then the value that you are going to get, that is actually the decimal value corresponding to that binary. Okay, I hope this is clear. So any questions about this? How you got 101? Okay. So so we will divide 5 by 2. Okay. So we will let's say we divide 5 by 2. So we what will happen? Okay, and here 2 plus 0 plus 1. Okay, so here the remainder is 1, which means we cannot divide it further. So that means it is not divisible by 2. Okay, when the numbers are not divisible by 2, that time the bit 0 is actually 1. If it were divisible by 2, then it would have been 0. Okay, so there is a remainder here, and we are going to it will be 1 here, and this this is divisible by value 2 here, means that 2 to power 2, that bit is actually going to be set here, this bit. So by repeated division by 2, we can compute the binary representation for a given decimal number. I'm sure. Okay. So we can take another example as well. Remainders. Okay, let's take another example here. Let's say the number is 64. Okay, so we are going to take that, and we are going to here divide it by, sorry, and let us divide it by 2. So what will we get? We'll get 32. When we divide 64 by 2, we get 32. And what's the remainder? The remainder is 0 here. Okay. Then we take 32 and divide it by 2 again. What's the remainder? Remainder is again 0 because it is completely divisible by 2. And after that it will be 16. Then we again divide it by 2. Remainder is again 0. It will become 8. Then we again divide it by 2. And then it will become 3. And remainder is 0. And then we divide 3 by 2. Then after that it is completely divisible. It is not completely divisible. The remainder is going to be 1. In this case, remainder is 0, 32. Then we divide by 2, we'll get 16. Yeah, 8. And then after that, and we are going to get here the remainder as 1. Then after that we get 1, right? Now no, we are going to do this. Then we are going to read it backwards. Okay. Did I miss anything here? 3 to 32, then divide by 6, then 16 we divide it by 2, we get 8, and 8 we divide by 2, 3, and then we divide 3 by 2, and we'll get here oh right, that's what I've been thinking. Something is wrong. Sorry, my tables are also very rusty. So then the remainder is going to be 0, and it is 2, and then 2 will be, remainder will be 0, and then 1, and then it will be 1. Yeah. So then we are going to read it backwards from bottom up, and we are going to write that as binary, which is 1 0 0 0 0 0. So that is then the binary representation of 64. Okay, and if you will do what I was just telling, that take this every bit, multiply it by the index. So like this we are going to do it, since all of these are 0, doesn't matter. So this is 0 1 2 3 4 5 and 6th, so this is 6th bit. So we are going to take that and multiply that by 2 to power 6, which is equal to 64. So that is how we are going to do the conversion from decimal to binary and binary to decimal. So we have to convert decimal to binary. We are going to divide it by 2 continuously and keep noting down the remainders, and then read them backwards. That will give us the binary, and once we have the binary, we are going to multiply every bit by power of 2 and add them, and that is going to give us the decimal. Okay, so after this, so the question was, so I hope that is now it's clear to us that if we have a decimal number, say 5, now I hope this makes sense to everyone, that the decimal number, you can do the same for 5 also, and you will actually get 101 in binary. It's like divided by 2, so the remainder is going to be 1. Now when we divide 5 by 2, we are going to get 4. We'll divide it by 2 is 0, and then divide, no, it's 2, so then we get here 1, and we will divide this by 1, and we'll read it backwards, so it is 101 in binary. Okay, so that is how we get binary. Now but only up to a number in decimal, we can represent only few numbers in decimal in using 8 bits in binary. Like once we have filled all of these 8 bits, with 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1, then like we started from all zeros, which was 0 0, which was decimal value 0. Now this is decimal value 127. If you will use the same method, that is take every bit, multiply it by 2 to power k, then this is value 127. So sorry, I've been speaking but writing downwards. So this is, so using 8 bits here, we can represent only numbers from 0 to 127. Sorry, 250. 2 to power 8 is 256, so 0 to 255. Okay, so not just for you but for myself also, I'll just write 2 to power 1 is 1, 2 to power 2 is 4, 2 to power 3 is 8, 2 to power 4 is 16, 2 to power 5 is 32, 2 to power 6 is 64, 2 to power 7 is 128, 2 to power 8 is 256, 2 to power 9 is 512, and 2 to power 10 is 1024. Okay, so these are the powers of 2. So if there are 8 bits, then there are 2 to power 8 possibilities. That is, we can with 8 bits we can represent numbers from 0 to 255. So are there any questions regarding this, that with 8 bits we can represent 2 to power 8 256 numbers? So now, since we want to represent signed numbers, so signed numbers means the number can be either negative or positive. So what we need to do, that we need to reserve one of the bits, one of the 8 bits, and usually it is the most significant bit, the MSB, and we are going to reserve it as a sign bit. That is, when the bit value is 0, the number is positive, and when the bit value is 1, then the number is negative. Okay, then we are left with only 7 bits, these 7 bits, 0 to 6, these 7 bits, we have only these 7 bits which we can fill with 0 and 1s to represent a number. So now we can represent numbers only from this to this, in this range. when we set all bits as 0 to when we set all bits as 1. And if you will do a, so this is of course 0, and if you will do a conversion of this binary representation to decimal, you will find that this is actually 127. If you are going to add every bit multiplied by 2 to power k, so which I already said, like 2 to power 0 plus 2 to power 1, 2 to power 2 plus 2 to power 3, 2 to power 4 plus 2 to power 5 plus 2 to power 6. That is equal to 127. Okay. So only this many numbers can be represented if we reserve one of the bit first as sign bit. So when the sign bit is 0, then the numbers are from 0, then the numbers are from 0, okay, 0 to 127. And when the sign bit is 1, sign bit is 0, then the numbers are from 0 to 127. And when the sign bit is 1, then the numbers are from minus 127 onwards to say minus 1. Okay. So the range of numbers that we are able to represent with 8 bits when one of the bit is reserved as sign bit is minus 127 to 127. This is the range of the numbers that we are representing with 8 bits when one of the bit is reserved as a sign bit. So is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thanks. So now if we, now the question is nothing different from what we discussed so far. The question is only saying that if you had 2 bytes, that is if you had 16 bits instead of 8 bits, it's only saying that if you had 16 bits and reserve one of the bits for sign, and then you have 15 more bits here, then can you tell me what is the range of the numbers that you can represent? So as I said here, you can represent here numbers from minus 2 to power 7 to 2 to power 7, right? Minus 2 to power 7, 2 to power 7 is 127, okay? I have to change this. 2 to power 7 is, 2 to power 7 here is 2 to 127. So we are representing numbers from minus 2 to power 7 to 2 to power 7 here when one of the bit is reserved and there are 8 bits originally to use. Now if you originally had 16 bits to use and reserve one of the bit as sign bit to represent as in positive and negative numbers, and there are only 15 bits left, then what is the range of numbers that you can represent? What is the smallest value and what is the largest value of the numbers? That's the question. So are there any answers for this? So did you guys understand the question? Yeah, you can give me answer in 2 to power k. Like, you don't need to do that computation because our options are actually in terms of 2 to power 15, 2 to power 16 and so on. So can you give me answer in terms of power of 2? Yeah, so D option is correct. 2 to power 15, right. And also minus sign is important because the question is asking for the minimum value of the signed integer. And the range is from minus 2 to power 15 to plus 2 to power 15, and the minimum is minus 2 to power 15. Okay. Does anyone wants, like, is it clear to all? Okay. Okay, if anyone has any doubt in this, then please ask me again towards the end of the session and I can explain it again. Okay, but do let me know. Okay, so let's go to the next problem, which is which of the following statement is correct. So first, so this is like a theoretical question, and let us read through it. The first option is like keywords are those words whose meaning is already defined by compiler. Keywords cannot be used as variable names. There are 32 keywords in C, and C keywords are also called reserved words. Right. I think everyone got it correct. Or are you still answering the last question? Okay. So, can anyone give me an example of a keyword in C? Right. So, int. Int is an example of keyword. So, I think everyone got it correct that keywords are the reserved words which are already defined by compiler, like int, main, or return. These are keywords. And you cannot use keywords as variable names in the program, and there are 32 keywords in C. Go to register, double, float, int, long, etc. Unsigned int. Yeah. Break. Right. Yeah, all of you are right. Continue. Right. So these are keywords, and there are 32 keywords, and yeah, last option is correct. So let's move to the next question. So the question is, what is the output of this program? There are two variables, x and y. Then we do some we have some statements, and then we are printing the values of x and y variables. Right. So you can just try to manually do a run of this program. Right. I think you guys are have been able to get the answer to the question. So this program is trying to swap two numbers, x and y. First it stores the value of x in t, then it copies the value of, so t can also be called as a temporary variable. It stores the value of x, then it copies the value of y in x, and then it copies the value of the temporary in y, and then it prints. So it is swapping numbers, and the output will be 3, 1. Sorry, 3, 1. Right. Next, so this another problem here, which is again asking what will be the following program print. So here I have put this table, which is saying that multiplicative operators have higher precedence than additive operators, and if you have these three operators, multiplicative operator, multiply, divide, and modulo, then the precedence is from left to right. That is, if all of these three operators are there in your statement, then you are first going to do multiplication, then division, and then the modulus. And same, you're first going to do addition and then subtraction. So the answer is 18, right? You will first here multiply 6 by 2, which is 12. Then you are going to divide 6 by 2, which is 3, and then you are going to add everything. So 3 plus 3 plus 12 is 18, and that will be the output. So if anyone things that did not understand, then please stop me. So I'm moving to the next question. Which of the following are not standard header files in C? So you have to tell which is not a header file in C. Correct, all of them are header files, right? So first, can anyone tell me what is a header file? Right. Yeah, I think I'm getting a lot of correct answers. The header file is one which has extension .h. It stores some predefined function declarations, global variables, etc. And the header file is actually a file in the library. And yeah, so stdio.h is the standard input output library. We can use to do input output. The conio.h is also a console input output library. It is not part of the standard library, but it is a standard library in C, but it is a C header file. And string.h is has functions to do operations on character arrays, which ends in null, that is strings. And here we can do string operation like copy strings and calculate the length of the string, compare two strings, and etc. So all are header files. The next problem is, again, you have to tell what is the output of this program. So conio is console input output. It stands for console input output. It is also a header file which it has functions to do input and output. Like standard stdio has functions like printf, scanf, which allows you to take input and to give output. Similarly, console.io also has functions which allows you to take inputs in the form of command line inputs, command line inputs, and also you can give outputs. Right. Yeah, so yeah, the answer is correct. It is 18.5. Now that's correct. So what is this line here, which is hash define fun x and then x into x minus x? What is it called? Function definition statement. Okay, so actually this is not a function, it's called a macro. These are called macros in C, and the macros can be of different types. It can be object type. Object like macro means you can only say hash define a 100, so then the value of a will be 100. And here you are using the macro in a similar way as function. So you have given it a name, you have said that okay, it will take some input, and then on that it is going to do this operation. This operation is done basically, but it is not actually a function, and because it does not get called when the function is executed. In fact, when the program is compiled, the compiler will replace this function macro here with this statement. It is going to take this and replace it here. So what I'm trying to say is, coming back to the whiteboard here, what I'm seeing is that if we have this macro, where am I writing? Yeah, okay. So if we have this macro hash define fun x into x minus x, okay, and in your function, in your main, you have here 37.0 or some value divided by fun2, and maybe it is being stored in some variable s. So what happens is that it gets changed to 37.0, 2 into 2 minus 2, that it gets replaced by the value of the macro. It will get replaced here. So you passed here 2, so it will replace x with 2 and it will just write it back here. It is similar to a function, because if you want to do this again, you can just write fun2 again and again with different values like 3, 4, etc. Even a floating point number, float also, not just does not have to be an integer. But a function call does not make, like a function is not being called. At compile time, it is getting replaced with the value, with this statement as it is getting copied with with this value which you assign to x. So that is what is happening. Okay. So now when you will do the calculation here, you will get that output, because it is only 37.0 divided by 2, which is 18.5. Okay. So note that if we so I actually have the program also here for this. I think this is problem number this. Yeah, I hope my screen is visible. I'll just increase the size. Okay, 1 second to close this. So here, if I remove the parentheses, then what will be the output of the program? If it were a function call, then the output would not change, because then you would expect it to compute that value and return back, which will still be 2, and 37 divided by 2 will still be 18.5. But as I just explained, it is actually not a function call. It is going to get replaced as it is. So then what is the output of this program? Anybody? So can anyone tell me any guesses for this? It is same as before, right? I haven't changed anything except I removed the parentheses here, which were earlier there. And now I'm asking that what will be the output? Sorry, what is?
18.5.
18.5? Are you saying 18.5?
18.5. Yes, ma'am.
So after doing this, it will not be 18.5. So what happens here? Now this will be changed to 37.0 divided by 2 into 2 minus 2. What is that value? Note earlier it was actually 37.0 divided by, it was in parenthesis, so it was 2 into 2 minus 2. That time it was 18.5, but this is not same as that. Now we have not put a parenthesis.
16.5 ma'am answer.
No, so it is 35, as some of you have got it correct, because look here, you are going to multiply 2 into 2, 4, then you divide 37 by 4. Okay, that and then you from that you are going to subtract minus 2. Okay, the precedence, I don't know, I'm not sure. Precedence, will it be divide or multiply?
35.
Yeah, yeah, it is 35 divided by 2. Yeah, so the answer is 35. And I'll just run the program, and let's see. So let us just run the program. Okay, so first we compile the program. So for that I'm using the GCC compiler. So this is, I'm going to call the GCC compiler, and there I will say, so actually I have to go into this folder. So then I'll say GCC and give the name of the program I want to compile, which is problem7.c minus O. With this flag I can specify the name of the file, output file. So I'll say problem7.o. If I do not specify any output file name, then by default it gives the file name as a.out. Then we run this. It compiled without any errors. So then to run it, we are just going to // and the file name, the output file name, and it will run. So the output is 35. That is 37 divided by 2 multiplied by 2 minus 2, that is actually 35. So what you should remember here is that a macro is not like a function call. You give it x, it does not compute the value and return that value to you. Instead, it replaces the compiler is going to replace the macro with the right hand side here. So x is replaced by 2, and it is, the macro is as it is copied here. So that is why these two have different values. If it were a function call, and I can show you that as well, if it were instead just a function which was, let's say, returning x into x minus x, and for that of course we will have to remove this. Okay, and I have to specify the type of the variable, and then if I will run this program now, and see I have not put any parentheses here, if I'll recompile this, then we expect it to give us 18.5, and that's it. Irrespective of whether I put a parenthesis here or not, it is going to give me 18.5. So which is different from what the macro is doing. Okay, that's something that I wanted to discuss. Now let's go to the, no, macro is not local. Like we defined it outside any function, right? It was defined outside any function. So it can be used anywhere in the program, in any function.
Ma'am, I have a doubt in line number 13 statement.
Wow.
Statement number 13.
Statement number 13. Yeah.
And there is a dot 2, ma'am. Why you use dot 2?
Okay, dot 2 means we are going to print up to 2 decimal. Like here, whenever the answer is coming, we are printing 2 decimal places. That is.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think Right, I was confused that the precedence left to right, what does that mean? I understood. So it means that it will be computed from left to right. So first the divide and then the multiply happens. Okay. And yeah, the macro is defined here. So we have defined the macro on line number 2. It can be used anywhere in the program, like anywhere after line number 2. Of course, not before line number 2. Wherever we have defined, after that we can use it anywhere. We can use it in a different macro as well. If I define another macro, I can use the previous macro in that macro as well. Like I can say some name, I can give it fun2 maybe y, or I will just call fun y times fun y. I mean, I can do that also. We can use one macro in other macro as well. So the difference between so macro, so like we have functions. So macro also means we will declare a name, and with that name we are going to specify something, maybe a value which can be say 5. So simply one example of macro can be say A10. This is also a macro, which is just saying that we can, whenever we use A anywhere in our program, it is going to get replaced with 10. It is like a constant declaration. We have declared some constant, okay? And so this is a object like macro. It is called like a object like macro. So, and this is like a function like macro because it has more, it do some operation on the given value x. And the difference between a macro and function, as I already discussed, that if it were a function, then it would be called, like main will call fun function here. But if it is a macro, then there is no call, there is no function call. It just get replaced with that, like it got replaced with this during compilation. Function call happens at runtime when the program is executed, and the macro gets replaced with the right hand side at compile time. No, you cannot change the value of the macro once you have written and compiled the program. But you can, as we discussed, that we can give some input, we can give some value to here like x in a function like macro, and then like here I give 2. I can instead, I can on next line maybe I can say I is equal to 16 divided by fun 3. Remove this, not function. I'm talking about the macro actually. So we can reuse the macro similarly to a function with different values, and that's how we can change it. Okay, I hope the difference between function and macro is clear. Functions we do call to the function, but in macro there is no call, it just get replaced with the statement. And now coming back, so the answer to this problem was 18.5, and we saw a variant of it. Now, which of the following is not a C variable? Yeah, that is correct. I'm sure all of you must know that C variable can start with any alphabet, small or capital, but it can start with underscore, but it cannot start with numbers, right? So the C is C option 1 2 3 var cannot be a variable name. It will give, so what will happen if I give this as a variable name? special characters like star, etc., those also I don't think they can be used in variable names. Only underscore is allowed to be used in variable name, as far as I remember. So can any one of you tell me what will happen if I actually use this variable name in my program?
Compiler not run.
Okay, yes. Compiler will give a syntax error.
कैसे सॉल्व करें? तो कई बार बूलियन एक्सप्रेशन को सॉल्व करना बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है.
Okay. Okay. So the compiler will generate a syntax error or compilation error. So next problem is here again we are using a macro, and I already gave you in this example, like let's say if we give name is here a and the value will be 6. It's like an object, so a will have the value 6. Now we are, can you mute yourself please? If you have a question, please type it in the chat box. So here, please keep yourself mute. Okay, so what is the output of this program? We have a macro with name here a, and in main we are declaring variable a, assigning it value 3. Then we increment value a, and then we print the value of a. So what do you think should be the output of this program?
C.
4. Okay, I've got 6 and 4. Okay, C A. Okay, so
C, ma'am.
so okay. Sorry, I made it. Yeah, fine. Okay, so C and A. Okay, fine. So isn't this like global? So the scope of this is global, okay, and the scope of this variable is local to this function, but the globals can be used inside the function, okay. So now when the compiler will try to compile this program, then the compiler will be confused that whether this a here, whether this a belongs to this or whether it belongs to this. And I will have to remove you if you do not keep yourself mute from this meeting. So it is getting a little disturbing. So first of all, when you are trying to declare a variable with the same name as the global, then the compiler will not allow you to do so, okay, because it will create a confusion, right? You cannot have two memory locations with the same name. Every variable is required to have a different name, right? So that is why it is going to, like here when it is assigning, so it has already assigned, it has already you have declared this macro, that is some a variable is already declared, some memory is allocated, and 6 has been written into that memory. Now when you try to create another variable with the same name, first of all it will not create a variable for you. Second, when you run this line, it is going to throw another error, like sorry, compile time, not run, compile time, it is going to throw another error, and the error will be that it expects on the left hand side a variable, not a numeric value, because a will be replaced with 6 and 6 is not a variable, okay, it's a constant, it's a literal. So it is going to throw another error saying that this L value, it should be a L value, that is some variable to which you can assign value. So the output of this program is going to be a compilation error, and I can also run it and show. This is problem number 7. So is it problem number 7? No, problem number 9. So problem number 9. So this is the code, same code as that. Let us compile this. I think Yeah. Problem 9.c, problem 9.o. Okay, so it did not compile. It gave us an error. First, it is going to. So actually, this should not be an error. This should be fine. So it is giving an error here because it thinks that A is a macro. So it is saying in the expansion of the macro A there is an error because it cannot write int 6 is equal to 3 does not make any sense to the compiler. And again, A, if it is 6, then 6 is equal to 3, 6 plus 1 also it does not make sense. So it is saying the L value is required as the left operand of an assignment. So this is going to be a compilation error. What if we won't write int A equal to 3, A equal to A plus 1? Answer will be 6. Right. If we are not going to write that, then the answer should be 6. Let's do that. Let us comment these and recompile. Now it compiles. Now let us run this. And the answer is 6. Okay? Okay. So the last problem for today's session. The following code swaps the values of two numbers without using any third variable. So we saw an earlier program where we swap two numbers, but in this we do not want to use a temporary. Earlier we used a temporary. What are the correct operations that are needed to be inserted inside the blanks? So there are 3 blanks, like you can put 3 statements here in the blanks. Sorry, I forgot to indent it correctly. So all of this should be indented. So initially we declare variable A and B and assign them value 2 and 3. Then before swapping, the value of A and B will be 2, 3. After swapping, it should be 3, 2. Now you have to fill in these blanks. Now you have a couple of options that you can try. These 3 options or none of above. So please try this. Okay, you want to see the code for, okay, yeah, this is the code. So there is not much in code actually. You are only declaring 2 variables A, B. Here there is a print statement which is printing the current value of A, B. Then you have to fill in the blanks, and after that you expect that when you print the value of A, B, it should be 3, 2 swapped. So then what will you fill in the 3 blanks? And you have these three options, A, B, C, and all of these options have 3 statements. So which one of them is correct? So saying D, none of them is correct. Okay, try again. I think one of them is correct.
C, ma'am.
Right, that is correct. So can others also try?
C, ma'am.
Yeah, right. Is there anyone who did not get C and thinks that the answer is maybe A, B or D? Okay, I'll explain. Let me go to the let me first copy all of this to the whiteboard. Okay, so we have 2 variables, A and B. Okay. would. So I have copied this. So the program has so this is the program body inside the main. Okay, okay. So first you declare these two variables a comma b. Let's say I'm just writing in pseudocode that now the syntax is not correct, so I'm just saying print ab. So it will print 2 comma 3. Okay, here when we print, it will print 3 comma 2. That is, value of a is 3, value of b is 2. There is some lag, I think. Yeah. So this is option number C, and what it is doing is that first of all it is adding the two numbers a and b and storing it in a. So after this, a will be 5, okay, and b is still 3. Now when we execute the next statement, then b is equal to a minus b, which is 5 minus 3. So then b becomes 5 minus 3, which is 2, while a is still 5. Now when we execute this third statement, then we are updating the value of a. We do not change the value of b. So b is still 2 here, while a is a minus b, and a is 5, b is 2, so it will become 3. So first we sum the values and store it in a. After that, from this sum we are going to subtract a and store it in b, and then we are going to subtract from the sum the value of b, and that will give us the value of a. So these three statements are using only two variables, a and b. Without using any third variable, we were able to swap the two numbers. Earlier, the code that we used for swapping was this, that first we used another variable t, stored the value of a in that variable. Then we did that b is equal to a. So, sorry, a is equal to b. Okay, if a was initially 2, b is equal to 3. Then we did b is equal to t. So when we did this, then t here will become 2, a will then become 3, b will then become 2. So after doing all of this, a is equal to 3 and b is equal to 2. So here we used one more variable, but here we have used to not use any variable. So that was question number, so that last question. Okay.
Could you repeat once again, ma'am?
Yes, of course. So the question is, so the right hand side is also a way, one of the ways by which you can swap two numbers. So if you have two numbers a and b, then you can swap those two numbers by using another temporary variable. So first you are going to store one of the variables. In this case, it doesn't have to be a, it can be b also, but what I'm saying is we are going to store one of the variables, here a, in the temporary. So now since we have stored the variable a value in temporary, that means now we can rewrite the variable a, because we have already stored it somewhere. A copy of that is stored somewhere else, which is in t. Now we can update the value of a and assign it the value of b, that we do it here. Okay, now we have changed the value of a from 2 to 3, so half work is done. Now we have to update the value of b to 2, and we have already stored the value of a in the temporary in the first step, so we are going to use that to update the value of b in the third step. So with this we swapped the two numbers by using one additional variable, temporary t. But now the problem in the 10th problem, here the question is saying that let us not use one more variable t, and let us without using one more variable, using only these two variables a and b, the two numbers which we want to swap, how can we swap the two numbers? So first we are going to add the two numbers and store them in one of the variables. Here I am storing the two variables in the sum of the two variables in a. Okay, now the variable a value has already been changed. It was earlier 2 now, but now it is 5, but value of variable b is still 3. Okay, now we want to change the value of variable b, so to 2, that is the value of variable a. So what we want to do, so if we take the sum, that is a plus b minus b, if we do a plus b minus b, we will be left with only a. So that is what we are doing in this step. Okay, and here we are effectively assigning to b value of a. Now we have successfully changed the value of b to 2. Okay, that is done. Now we are left with assigning a as value 3. Now in a currently we have the sum of the two numbers, which is 5. From that, if we subtract b, then that will be sum like a plus b minus a. Why a I am saying? Because now in b we have the original value of a. Okay, from this step. So these two will get cancelled, and now in a we will have value b. So I hope this is clear. So here, without using any question?
Understood, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. So without using any extra variable, we have swapped. Okay. So do you have any questions in previous problems? Anybody has any questions in previous problem?
The question is that why you used hash define? That's the question.
Hash define. Okay, hash define. That is the, so like you have hash include. So that's the syntax in C, right? Like int main, right? It's a syntax to where we can to declare the macros. Okay, so I had only this much for today. So if you do not have any further question, then we can end the session here. And those of you who have questions, they can stay back and ask me questions. Yeah, thank you so much for joining. And I will upload the recording of this lecture. And I have already uploaded the first, the recording of the previous session, the last session actually, and the link.
Where we get that? Now?
The link I shared in the chat box here. Here is the link to the last session recording. You can go to the chat box and see it here. Okay, and you can actually look at this channel. So I have created a playlist on YouTube, and I will keep uploading. Whenever I upload any recording, I will do that in the same playlist. So you can.
Ma'am, can you share the links again? Both.
Channel name, ma'am?
Okay, yeah, I can share it. Copy.
Channel name.
So the channel name is CS Topics. I think I've kept. Yeah, so this is the link. You can go here. There is one playlist for programming in C, and I have uploaded already the first recording there for the last session, and today's session also I'm going to upload tonight, and I will do the same for all the sessions. So you can go and check in this playlist, okay, every week if you want. And if there is any channel if you have for this class, like a Discord or any other platform, then I can share this link with you whenever I have uploaded the video. Otherwise, you can check
And
it.
there is Google discussion forums, I think.
Google discussion
Where-
forum. Okay. Do you know how can I? So is there a link to that?
Ma'am, we,
How can I
I
join?
think, get message or mail for that, and we have to subscribe it.
Okay.
That's what I had did. So we get constant messages from there
So-
where we asked out and the TAs answer.
Okay. Are you getting the links for the other sessions recording? So there are two more.
Yes, ma'am.
Or did you get the link for this session recording also?
To Gmail, ma'am, to Gmail.
Sorry, I did not get it. Did you get or not?
We got the email, ma'am.
Oh, via email you got the link, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then it's fine. Yeah. But and otherwise also, if you don't want to wait for that mail, maybe you can go and check that YouTube playlist also.
Yes, ma'am, it takes time.
Okay. Yeah, you can check this playlist. Now I'll upload on the same. I'll try to upload on the same day usually, unless I have some network issue or something. I'll upload on the same day before midnight. Okay. So you have some doubts from the previous video, from the previous lecture, Ravindra? Or are you saying that you have some doubts from the course content? Okay, not from the previous video. So I did not understand when you said that we get doubts during lecture videos. So are you saying that when you watch the week's lectures, then sometimes you get some doubts? Yeah, you can bring those doubts in these sections and you can ask me those doubts, and I'll try to answer them. If not on the same day, at least I'll try to answer in the next one. Okay. Yeah, you can ask your no doubt is small, and you can ask those doubts to me, which you get during the while watching the lecture video, or when you're writing your C programs and you try to compile and maybe it does not compile. Of course, so if you face any difficulty, if you have any doubt, feel free to ask me in these sessions. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for joining. So I think we can. Yeah.
Ma'am,
Right. Yeah. Hi. Yes. So actually, unfortunately I did not enroll the course, and I'm not part of the discussion forum, and I am not sure if I can join it now. I will try to find that. So
ma'am, TAs are allowed, I think so.
yeah, okay. So actually I did not enroll the course, so I'll have to talk to the team and see if I can still get access to the course discussion forum. And I'm unable to write the code, ma'am. I can't type for assignment. So in assignments, I think the questions are multiple choice, right? So then what is the problem? Like, why are you not able to write the codes? So you can ask your doubts other than the lecture classes. You can ask the doubts on the discussion forum. I think other TAs are also present there, and if you have any doubt related to the content or any assignment which has been for which the deadline is over, or upcoming assignment also, if you have any clarification questions, then you can ask there. If there is some discussion forum, takes too much time.
Ma'am, there was a similar doubt at the discussion forum. The TA was replying that we have to select the language from the machine language to C, that is in dash. Then we have to select from the pop down the C, and then there would come the code which is previously written, and then in it we have to edit the code
Okay.
by that we have to edit and then compile and run the private test cases
Oh,
and submit them.
I did not know that the assignment has some programming assignments also there.
But they are different. One is of MCQ and 3 to 4 hours of coding per
Okay,
week.
okay. I actually did not know that there are coding assignment as well. So, yeah, it takes time. So, if this is your first course in programming, if this is the first time you are learning programming, then it is normal. Like it will take time for you to understand and actually digest this information. So it's not just that you have to understand, you also have to digest. Like it is something very new which you have not seen earlier. Like there is a syntax, you have to follow that, like int main, void main, hash define, hash include. So this is going to be, if this is the first course, then don't worry about it. Like it will take some time, but after some time you will be able to write programs and you will understand it. Don't give up. Like it is normal. Like it is normal. Okay, just try to follow through the course, attend tutorial sessions, and ask your doubts in the tutorial sessions. There is one session on Friday and there are 2 sessions on Tuesday. So you can join any of these sessions. If you have some doubt, let's say, and you want to ask, then you can join the Friday session. And if you get some doubt on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, other days, and you're not able to resolve, you can join the Tuesday sessions and ask in Tuesday session.
Friday you take the lecture.
No, Friday I am not taking. Friday someone else is taking. There are
Is he the other that is having today from 7 to 9, Siddhant Mohapatra?
no, Siddhant, there are 3 TAs who are taking the sessions.
The other one.
I don't remember the name, but
Is he Abdul Baqi Mir or
yes.
he,
So yeah, Abdul is taking on Friday. I am taking 6 to 8 on Tuesday, and Siddhant is taking 7 to 8 on Tuesday. So actually our sessions are clashing, but yeah, we are taking on Tuesday and he's taking on Friday. Where can we see assignments? So assignment, I think those are visible on your course portal, right? If you go to Neptel and you're going to at the end of every week's content, you can see the assignment which is due for that week. Okay, so if there are no further doubts, let us meet next week. And so just like it's fine.
ma'am, can you show question from the beginning once again?
You want me to explain all the questions from the beginning?
No, ma'am, I don't want that. In the questions, I would have doubt. I would ask some which I have serious doubts, because it would be not possible for you to explain every question.
Yeah, could you take a look at the video? I'll upload it by midnight. And
Actually, I was not well, so I had joined it very late
oh,
today.
it's all right. So you can go through the video once, and then if you have any doubt, then you can ask either in the discussion forum or you can ask me next week.
Okay,
I think that will be more better. So
Ma'am, actually, the schedule is quite busy, but I will try to see it.
yeah, there you can try to see what problems are there and see only for those sections.
Actually, I am enrolled in a regular UG degree, so I had to go regularly to college by train and then come
Yeah.
back. So you can think how much hectic it would become.
Yeah.
So I had barely time to study, and then I have to sleep to get up early and catch my train for the next day to go to college.
Oh, oh, yeah, yeah,
And
that's it.
the
Yeah.
classes are till 4:30, so I get home till evening or night because trains are late also.
Yeah. So let us. I'll just stop the recording and